Hello, I'm Gavin Horgan, Headmaster of Millfield School in Somerset, the largest co-educational boarding school in the UK. Welcome to the Millfield Way Podcast. Here, you'll hear from teachers, coaches and students from Millfield and Millfield Prep School. Millfield is traditionally different, and this is the Millfield Way.
Hello and welcome to this Millfield Way podcast, in conversation with Mike Barber. My name's Liz Webb, and for this episode I'm delighted to be joined by Millfield's Head of Sixth Form, Mike Barber. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Liz.
So let's get straight into some questions about Sixth Form. You joined Millfield as Head of Sixth Form in January 2024. How have you found your first couple of years here?
It's been amazing. Millfield is busy and it goes fast, but actually it's a truly amazing and engaging place to be. It's a bit of a change for me as a boy from Bath to come down to Somerset and sort of sit amongst the hills, but it's been phenomenal. The students and the staff are great. I'm lucky to live on site, get an amazing commute every morning. It's genuinely an incredible and fun place to work. So yeah, it's gone very quick as life does, but it's been really good so far.
And your background is in rugby. Tell us a bit about what you did before joining Millfield.
So I didn't have a linear journey into teaching. Essentially, I grew up in Bath and I was lucky enough to sign for the club for Bath Rugby when I left school for a year. And following that, I got injured at the end of my year, so my contract was up. I had a fortune that my dad was Olympic gold medalist, so he was always telling me that you need to have a backup to sport. So I ended up going to Cardiff Met University. I did 4 years there to study business and economics, playing rugby as well. I was lucky enough to go on a scholarship. And then by pure chance, I got picked up by Ulster when I left Cardiff Met. And I thought I'd give professional rugby one last shot. So I moved over to Belfast on a year deal. And then towards the end of that year, I started to realise that this kind of wasn't sustainable for me in terms of a career. I was sort of third choice and there were two British Lions in front of me, so I was like, it's a good time to quit. And I moved back home and I signed to play semi-professional and started to embark as my journey as a teacher. So I played semi-pro rugby for about 10 years at Pontypool and Clifton, and alongside that was a teacher at my old school at King Edward's in Bath. Got to do some extra stuff in terms of working coaching-wise with academies. So I worked with Bristol Bears, with the Dragons, and then I became assistant head coach at Clifton Rugby Club when I stopped playing in 2019, I think it was. And sort of time sort of moved on, and I looked at, I'd been at Kes for 10 years plus a number of years as a kid, and I thought it's actually time to move, and then the opportunity came up here at Millfield. And I've known Millfield for a long time, having been sort of beaten by them at various different times playing sport against them. So and it was just a great fit for me. So it was not a linear journey into teaching and to arriving here, but I think it gives me a really good overview of what our students have to do here at Millfield as well. And
I'm sure those experiences that you had are really relatable or aspirational for some of the students here that want to pursue a similar journey.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the joys of my job, is that I get to look at both sides, if you like, in terms of the academic side and the development of it as a person, but also, we will absolutely support their sporting aspirations. That's what we're here for. And we'll always make sure that we can do and exhaust all of our resources to help them achieve what they want to achieve. But also, professional sport or sport in general is a finite time, that you're only in sport for a limited number of years, and it's really important to plan ahead. Thankfully, it's not just rugby, but other sports have moved on in terms of that long-term planning for athletes, and I think that journey really starts here at Millfield. We really give them a good holistic approach to their sport and life pre, post and during sport.
And you mentioned your dad there. What sport did he do?
So he was a hockey player. He was part of the 1988 team that won gold. Sean Curley, Steve Batchelor, OM. They were all pretty close. I was 4 when Dad won the gold medal, so a distant memory. I was lucky enough to grow up in an environment where Dad was sort of balancing it wasn't professional, it was amateur sport, but work and high level sport, performance sport. So it was. I'm useless at hockey.
I was going to say, did he want you to play hockey?
Yeah, no, and that was the good thing about my dad. There was I've got two younger brothers, and we were all rugby players. My brother works for England Rugby at the minute as a coach, and in essence, there was no pressure to get involved in hockey. It was just do school and do your sport, do it to the best of your ability, and that's kind of my ethos as well here in terms of making sure that I can support our students in everything they do. But make sure that we're giving them the tools to do their absolute best across all facets of school. And
we'll get into the school more in detail in a moment.
Yeah.
Outside of school, what interests do you have?
I've got two young boys who are footballers. So they are busy. One is involved in an academy, so lots of travelling, lots of watching. It's great for me because I get to actually watch and not understand what's going on. So which is fantastic. Lots of those, and just keep myself fit, run, train quite regularly, compete in some high rocks and stuff like that. So that's sort of we've got a busy family, so that keeps me busy outside of that.
I don't suppose you have a lot of time in term time.
No, I don't have any time at all.
So let's get down to sixth form at Millfield. What do you think attracts so many families, and what makes Millfield Sixth Form different to other schools?
I think what Millfield does is that we can offer an education unlike any other. The school is able to deliver a bespoke curriculum that keeps every single student at the centre of it. I think that the key thing around schools these days, there's become an increasingly transactional exchange between pupils and private education in terms of pay X, you get Y. That's not what Millfield is about. We are not a transactional school. We are really about the journey and the transformational experience that we offer here. That's never been more accurate than at sixth form. It's such a crucial time in terms of the post 16 into 18, about that point of where you've come from, where you currently are, and where you plan to go. And I think we really work hard to create a connection and a level of support through fantastic teaching, the very best sports coaching and athletic development in the country, as well as a phenomenal pastoral care through our houses, through our class sizes. They all contribute to that development of the student. And it's really about how the measure of how they leave here at Millfield is not really where they go on to, but how much they've enjoyed their experience, how much they've grown and reached their kind of their self-fulfillment whilst at Millfield. And I think that's what we do better than anybody else, and that's really the point of development for our sixth form. We link it a lot to things like Gatsby's benchmarks and the World Economic Forum in terms of exposure to higher careers, education, exposure to understanding emerging technologies. We really work hard to provide that as the core foundation of everything we offer at the sixth form. So we prepare students for the outside world, but they also have great fun here in the 2 years that they're here. That's the really key thing.
And in our sixth form, there's around 600 in those 2 years, so 300 roughly in each year. And coming in new into lower six every year, we'll have 120 to 150 brand new students. What are the highlights for you of that sixth form 2 year journey? What's in the calendar?
I really like the first week, the induction week that we have. Students come into Millfield. We get about 150 students that come in. What it creates is a diversity in the school. The sixth form body turns over every year, and I think what's great is seeing those friendships formed and seeing those kind of connections, be it in terms of pre-season camps, be it in terms of the socials that we do in that first week, the house events. That first week's really great. We take all of our lower sixth on camp in week 2. That's great. Even if the weather's poor, it's really good fun. It's an opportunity for students to kind of get to know each other. So those first 2 weeks are really great. And this year's been probably my most enjoyable in teaching in terms of the first 2 to 3 weeks. It's just been a really, sort of buzzing, bustling atmosphere. We've got quite a packed calendar for sixth form. So we do things like a lower sixth formal, which is a formal black tie dinner for everyone in the lower sixth in the dining hall. It's great because they get to sit down. There's no technology, there's no phones. They get to have conversations over good food, sort of talk about each other, understand what their journeys are, and find some commonality. One of the big highlights is the SEDBA showcase. From a sixth form perspective, that's great because we see our senior team. So SEDBA showcase is where at the end of the autumn term, we play all of our fixtures against SEDBA, and the whole school comes to us or we go to them. And that Sedbergh Showcase is great because you really see the school community and the school spirit and that sense of belonging and pride in being Millfield students. So they're really big events that we look forward to. But also you've got the kind of the smaller events, like we do socials in the bar in the cafe every Tuesday night, and that's just a social where students come up and enjoy each other's company. And we started to do open mic nights on the last Friday of every term. And that's great because it's just our students having good fun with each other, making memories and enjoying what they do. So in a packed calendar, they're probably my standouts.
And you mentioned that the Sixth Form Cafe, it is a cafe, it's not a bar.
It's not a bar.
Although the students do all call it bar for some reason.
They do call it bar.
It's not a bar.
It's not a bar. It's a cafe that is referred to as the bar, but it's essentially where they can buy a really good range of hot drinks and stuff like that. But it's a great social space that's not accessible to the rest of the school. So the Sixth Form Cafe is really a good space for them in terms of their socialisation.
And then towards the kind of the end of the Sixth Form journey, the Upper Sixth have their winter ball and then summer celebration and those things, which are really nice events in the calendar.
Yeah, they're big we call them sort of big ticket events. So the winter ball is a big black tie ball for the Upper Sixth, and essentially it's themed every year. Last year we had a James Bond theme, which was great. We set it up like it was Casino Royale, so essentially a hotel with some nice cars parked outside and a casino and things of that nature. So that's a really good event that they look forward to. Summer celebration is just incredible. It's over 3 days, and essentially the Friday we have the summer celebration. On the Saturday, we have the whole school together, and then in the afternoon it's a chance for parents to come on site, reflect, talk to their HSMs, talk to their house parents, and then in the evening we have a big final sort of goodbye dinner. It's a chance for me and the headmaster to talk to the year group and their parents, and not just reflect on the students' journeys, but the parents' journeys as well. We talk about how it's a collective. It's not just a student attending a school. It's that whole investment from an emotional, personal perspective that parents have at Millfield, and we want to ensure that we acknowledge that, we recognise that, and actually reflect on the memories that they've made in the 2 years.
And Millfield's the largest independent sixth form in Europe. Why is that level of size and scale so valuable?
So we often call it the Millfield mix, and essentially it's one of the founding things that Boss started when he founded Millfield. It's that diversity, it's that ability to have a wide range of different cultures that are together and appreciate one another. But it also helps us in terms of the resources that we're able to utilise. We are, as you quite rightly said, the largest sixth form in Europe, but also we have incredibly small class sizes. We're allowed to do that because of our size and our diversity. We're able to offer small, bespoke, in terms of good ratio teaching in a school that is huge. And students come here thinking it's going to be big, and it is big, but also it has a sense where, because it's a dynamic bustling environment, it nurtures that growth, but it feels small and it feels personal. And you will find tribes here, multiple tribes. Students will come with an idea of what Millfield will be, and actually it's very different in terms of their social group and what we're able to offer them as a school. So from our side, it's that ability to have those resources, and are able to provide flexibility as well. We can flex timetables, we can alter curriculums to suit students. Not many other schools can do that, and we can do that through our size and through our diversity. And
that's really interesting what you're saying about the different tribes. So I suppose an example of that is if you're a boarder in-house, you've got a different tribe, different group of friends there. Even if you're a day student, you've got your house. You've got your own teaching classes, which are different. You've got your own interests, so whether that's drama, music, dance, sport, and the people that you do those things with will be different. So you have all those different groups where you can start friendships and make lots of different friends from all over the world.
Absolutely, and that's the key thing. You can almost walk through the school and sort of ask any student in passing what various different activities, things they do here, and it's different multiple sets of people. If it's a first team rugby player, they'll also be involved in drama and dance, so they'll have their subjects. They will be involved in the MBA, or they'll be doing enterprise. There's multiple different groups that students can align themselves with, and that's what in essence kind of builds the community here at Millfield.
And so what academic courses, combinations and qualifications, well, that's quite a lot to say, isn't it, are on offer to sixth form students at Millfield?
So a wide variety. So essentially, and this is again linked to what we're able to do with our resources. So we offer over 30 A-level subjects to students. And students can typically sit a mix of A-level and BTEC subjects. So BTEC subjects are essentially, they are examined throughout the year through coursework or through assignments. We allow students to sit a combination of these, whether they sit a 3 A-level programme. Some of our students sit a 4 A-level programme. We have students that sit pure BTEC, and we also have students that mix A-levels, a 2 A-level programme with a single BTEC. It's that flexibility we have to be able to offer them. We also offer the Leeds Cooking Award, which is something that we've got a student run, shortly to be opening a student run cafe. And essentially that's built around the lease, and that's built around the BTEC cooking, food and nutrition, whereby we can offer students stuff that no other schools can offer. We also offer SATs and the EPQs. So students can choose to do an EPQ, which is a sort of study-based qualification that goes towards their UCAS. And again, SATs, we are actually a verified SAT test centre, and our on-site team are phenomenal in terms of preparation of SATs for application and entry into US universities. So there is a wide variety of subjects that we offer here that many schools don't.
And Millfield's proudly a full boarding school, and we like to emphasise the word full because there are not so many schools left anymore that are full boarding schools, and what we mean by that is 7 days a week the students are living here. The school does not empty out at the weekends. So around 75% of our sixth formers board. How important is that full boarding provision in ensuring our students make the most of their Millfield experience?
It's hugely important. One of the things that we really sort of pride ourselves in terms of the school is our community, and it's essential that at the weekend those boarding houses don't empty out. Some schools will move to a flexi boarding model where they'll board Monday to Friday and then the site will be empty for the weekend. We provide a diverse programme whereby students can really engage in the school but also fixtures, and then after the fixtures one of the biggest thing that we think is so important is that they go back to house, or they go back to their community and reflect on the week, reflect on the day. They spend time in each other's company, which I think is really important, not only to build bonds that last forever, and we have a really strong OM community, and that's through the fact that they are full boarders. They stay here and it becomes their home. We're really keen in terms of to push to the essence that it's not a boarding house, it is your home. And we have students that enjoy being here, and we had a couple of OMs come back on site last week to watch some of the fixtures, and they said, I'm craving the rolling hills of Somerset. They crave being back on site and in the environment and in the community. And it's so important that, especially for our large international cohort, that those bonds are there throughout the week, and it doesn't feel like those international students are isolated at weekends. It's about everyone being on site, everyone sort of taking part in the community. It's a hugely part, and we're so proud of being a full boarding schools because, as you said, there are not many left in the country. And by doing that, it goes back to our values of community, of being kind. That's what we want to see from our students, and ensuring that they spend time together in each other's company, respecting and learning from each other, away from the classroom. That's hugely important as well.
And the weekends here, so students will have lessons on a Saturday morning, and then fixtures or activities they're involved in on Saturday afternoons, and then Sunday is more of a downtime, chill out day, which they need by that point in the week, don't they? Because Millfield is a busy place. They
do, yeah. We have the school week essentially is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday and Friday are full teaching days. Quite often when lessons end at 3:45, there is a surge back to the boarding houses to change and then off to their sporting activities. Wednesdays and Fridays we finish school at 12:15. And those afternoons are dedicated to fixtures and whole squad trainings or individual development plans where they will engage in their sport. Due to the big blocks of fixtures we have on Saturdays, Saturday nights are really quite nice, chilled out, lots of stuff going on in houses. We have some socials. Sundays are really their rest days. So some Saturdays we do have a slower Saturday whereby students wake up a little bit later on. We start school later. That's invaluable because it gives them a bit of a lie-in as well. Sundays, brunches at 11. That's probably the best meal of the week, the students argue, because they all go there en masse and in their groups. And Sundays are their time to kind of get through some work, bit of downtime, and prep themselves for the week ahead. Students have quite a variety of freedom. At the end of the school day, they can go off site, they can go into street, go get a haircut, things of that nature, until roll call at 7 o'clock. And again, on Sundays, they really have the freedom of the day to do what they want in collaboration with their house parents, so that they know where they are and what their plans are for the day.
And also just down the road we have Clark's Village, which is a shopping outlet that stays open till about 7, I think, most days.
Does.
So as well they can go and buy anything that they need.
Yeah, and there's some restaurants in there, and quite often parents will come into site. There's a perception that because we're a full boarding school, parents can't come visit them. They can come visit them anytime they want to, and there's restaurants around the street in Glastonbury. It's a great place to be, where they can kind of go and enjoy each other's company. And we encourage that as well. Quite often some students will take some exeats, for example, birthdays, things of that nature, and we do allow that, in terms of within reason, by going away, because it's really important, as I said previously, that this is not just the students coming to Millfield. We want families to be involved in their journey, specifically at Sixth Form for the 2 years.
And Millfield's been named the best sporting school in the UK for 11 of the last 12 years. The only year we didn't get it was during COVID, and we're not quite sure how that got worked out. Yeah. But can you tell us a bit about what makes the sporting offer at Millfield so special?
I think it's twofold. I think the first thing is the diversity and the range of coaching experience, specifically the experience of the coaches. We've got coaches here that have competed and coached at national, international, professional level. But also you've got that high level of competence in terms of development of individual care. We aren't here, we go through key processes in our sport. We put our students and our athletes at the centre of everything we do. But at the same time, the most important thing is their welfare and their holistic development. I think that's the really crucial part. We are a process-driven school in terms of we want to make sure that the athletes and the students get the very best out of what they need. And the outcome is typically the byproduct of that. We are a very successful school in terms of our sport, but that's because the pedagogy and the framework that we go through in individual sports. We've got 30 different sports that we do at Millfield with a range of high class sort of experience and international standards. That breeds that element of care that I think is not fully understood. And that's really what is the unique point about Millfield Sports. It's not the outcome. The outcome takes care of itself because of our diligence and of our hard work of all the coaches in our process. And that's led from the sport department. But also there's that kind of hybrid of the academic and the pastoral, the holistic element coming in to ensure that students here get the very best out of their sport by being supported in every facet of their lives when they arrive at Millfield.
And we've talked a lot about sport, but there are students at Millfield whose passions lie in more co-curricular activities, music, dance, drama. Yeah. They're very academic. Let's talk about that side of the school, because we would encourage those students to participate in sport, but it may be more a recreational level just for health and general fitness. What do we offer for students who are not so interested in sport but interested in those other things? So
we've got some absolutely incredible co-curricular facilities and teaching. So in terms of our music department, our drama, dance department, the Atkinson Gallery is a phenomenal resource that we have on site. And just often at lunchtime, if I need a bit of a break, I'll go and walk through the Atkinson Gallery and see the artwork on display, because it is just phenomenal. We have such a vast variety of such high level co-curricular elements. That's so important. And often, again, Millfield, obviously we are known for our sporting endeavour. I would say that what is also on a par with that is our dedication to the arts. We have so many talented people here that create such amazing, beautiful pieces of work through contemporary dance, through music, through the drama, through their artwork. That is such one of the things we do here quite a lot. Is we have art gallery openings, or we have Johnson sessions, which is musical performances in the evening. We encourage our students to take those in. There's always something happening. It's an absolute sort of pleasure to go and see that happening every week throughout Millfield. That is really it is under appreciated from an external point of view, something that we do so well here at Millfield. And we often find that an awful lot of our students that are involved in sport are also highly involved in our co-curricular. One of the key things we have as well is the MBA, is the Millfield Brilliance Award. That is an outreach programme that we operate in school, where we have students that leave school and go into Glastonbury, go into street and do charitable work. We're currently working with the YMCA, we're working with the local primary schools. It's something that is really at the heart of the values of the school, and it's something that we are really, really proud of.
And so I'm going to ask you about destinations after Milford now. But actually, you talking about music there was making me think of one of our students who left this summer to go to Oxford Uni on a prestigious core scholarship for music because of the work that she's done here and the talent that she's developed in the music department. But could you talk us through the various pathways that our students can explore after Millfield? Yeah,
so we've got on site an incredible futures team led by Mr. Santry, and essentially one of the things that we do is that linked to Gatsby's benchmarks in terms of the future and also how sort of students are prepared for that. We start very early, as soon as all my students land in lower sixth, and certainly earlier on in the school in year 9, we start to talk about their journeys post Millfield and their preparation for post Millfield. Our students go to a wide variety of different places in terms of academic study, but also we have an increasing amount of students that go to the US. So the US college system, we've got some fantastic relationships over there, and last year we had some students. I think last year our total scholarship offers for both academic and sport and the arts totaled $11 million. So that's essentially the combined offers that all of our students receive from prestigious universities in the US to go over to America and study. That's, again, an enormous part of what we do here. But also, in terms of our UCAS, we have a cohort of 300. Many students go on to universities in the UK. We had 4 go to Oxford last year, which was phenomenal. But also, we have students that go into pro sport. We had a total of 7 athletes sign professional contracts last year in rugby, cricket. And also we have students that go on gap years, but they're structured gap years. We talk to them about what they want to do. Many go abroad and go do work in various different countries for experience, deferring their place to university. We've got some people that go into the military. We had 2 go in last year. And also we've got another student that is currently looking at apprenticeship. He's in an apprenticeship in London. So there is a wide diversity of places and destinations that our students go, and we work really hard on site to support those applications.
So that sounds fantastic that we have that much variety. How do we go about helping students choose and apply for their next destination?
So as I mentioned, our futures team led by Mr. Santry, so that is typically known as careers. We call it futures because we're really looking at typically what do students want to achieve moving forward post Millfield. Him and his team have a really good understanding of the different pathways that students have. So that'll often start with a conversation at the start of lower sixth. So Mr. Santry will speak to the whole year group, and they'll be invited to have a conversation with him, an individual conversation with him and his team in terms of their aspirations for when they leave Millfield. That ranges from, I absolutely want to go here and study this course, to I have absolutely no idea what I want to do. His team are phenomenal at saying, well, have you considered this aspect? What are your interests? What enthuses you? What's your passion? What do you want to study? What are your career goals? And then they will match certain places and work with them throughout the year in terms of finding institutions or finding pathways that are going to benefit the individual student. Once that's been decided on, we then support them through the application process. So if it's, for example, Oxbridge, Dr. Priest works with them specifically in terms of their interview skills, works on their applications, really sort of drills down into what Oxford or Cambridge might be looking for them. Same with our UCAS applications in terms of their support with references, their support with reference writing, subject references. The Futures Department manage all of that and ensure that the students really know how to convey their thoughts and their processes to universities. And then the UCAS process, we then look at working with the academic side in terms of predicted grades, how that be worked, where they need to go, and amalgamating all that data to give them the best possible chance of applications to universities. Last year, we had nearly 90% got their first or second offer to go to university, which is fantastic from a school's perspective. And we, again, have great relationships with those universities. And that's also one of the real key points, particularly with the universities here and in the US, is that we've got such good relationships with them, we can just pick up the phone and have a conversation about individual students. Quite often it's a formal process that goes through, we have an ability to speak to these universities on a one-to-one level and talk through what we might be able to help them with. So they provide holistically, almost from year 9, and that continues to the lower sixth, to then on results day, helping them with clearing, helping them with any sort of application problems that might come up. That team are always on hand to support students throughout the whole process.
Fantastic. And if you could choose one single thing that makes you most happy in your role as head of sixth form, what would that be?
It's the daily interactions with students. No day is ever the same here at Millfield. I quite often go into the cafe and have a discussion with students, see how their days are, and it's just the different stories and the different experiences they're having on a daily basis. That's what keeps us enthused as staff. And for me personally, I'm really proud to be the head of sixth form here because it's a phenomenal place to work. We're really proud of the culture within the sixth form, and we're really proud of how well modelled our individual students are, and collectively how they create a community. So it's really those daily interactions and how busy and how bustling the place is. You can't not smile every day you walk into work on that.
And finally, what would be your 3 takeaways to our listeners about sixth form at Millfield? If you want them to remember just 3 key things from what we've talked about, what would they be? The
main thing for me would that we have a lot of fun. We do have a lot of fun here, and you will create memories. And I think that's the biggest thing for me is the biggest takeaway is about creating memories. Quite often, and go back to a sporting analogy, when you look back on your time, you don't look at the medals and the things that you've won. You look back on the memories that you've made and the friendships and the bonds that you've created. This is something that's truly special at Millfield. And I think my biggest takeaway would be we have lots of fun. We look after you extremely well, and you will really miss the place when you leave. And that's the biggest thing that students say to us, is that they wish they could come back. And for me, as head of sixth form, that's the best thing to hear. So yeah, they would be my 3 takeaways from sixth form at Millfield. It goes quick, but it's the best 2 years that you'll ever have.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mike, for sharing everything about sixth form at Millfield today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Millfield Way Podcast in conversation with Mike Barber. Thank you and goodbye.